This is the CreaseCast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Friday/Saturday edition of the CreaseCast. I'm your host, Lachlan Irvin. We are back with another episode. It's a late episode, of course, because of the awkward Canucks playing on a Friday night, which is actually really, really rare, hence why we do the Friday shows. Joining me today is my good friend. She's back, Angelina Mintz from BCIT.
Hello.
And yeah, Ange, how you doing?
Good.
You're
Tired.
Good, because you and I went to the game.
We did, and that's why this is starting. We're recording very late.
Yes.
From transiting home. I wouldn't trade going to the game. Like, I definitely think it was worth it. Like, it was a good game, but I'm just very, very exhausted.
Yes, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Like, you know who's most exhausted though? Is Spencer Martin, because that boy worked so hard.
He really carried the team. It's like he turned in. I don't want to compare him to Demko, but it was like
He's bubbly.
The way
Martin.
he played tonight was like bubble Demko, where it was like you never expected it, and then it happened. Like, it was so impressive, so good. What an effort by him. First NHL game in 5 years. Like, that's really impressive, and I was really impressed because going in, you said to me, you're like, we're gonna get slaughtered. Like, this is not gonna be a good game. Panthers are leading the league. We don't have Thatcher Demko.
Okay,
We don't have JT Miller. We don't have Connor Garland. List goes on.
Okay, excuse me. Don't throw me entirely under the bus.
You literally said, you're like, why can you can't be sober at this game?
Because
Which I was.
Because look,
by the way,
look, here's the deal.
didn't
So was I. Don't.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing, right? Like, I look back on every single time the Canucks have been like, okay, we're gonna send this goaltender who does not have a lot of experience into a game, and we're gonna hope that it doesn't go entirely badly. And like, I look back on like the Mikey DiPietro game where they threw him in on an emergency basis, and the Canucks defense was not ready to insulate him properly. And it went so badly. And I was looking at Spencer Martin as a guy who hasn't played in 5 years. His last game, I believe, was actually like a year to the day, or like 5 years to the day kind of thing, or something close to that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something close to that. And he had a rough go. He had a real rough go in the 3 games he played with the Avalanche, which I believe were the year where they were notoriously like insanely bad, like that one year where they were like the worst team in the NHL by a country mile. Yeah, Martin had a rough go then, and I was just looking at this like, God, they're playing the best team in the NHL. They're doing it without JT Miller, their leading goal scorer. They're doing it obviously without Thatcher Demko because he's in COVID protocol, and Jaro Halak as well. And also Bo Horvat's out. Also Connor Garland's out. I was just looking at this like, God, they're in a lot. Poor Spencer Martin is about to get thrown to the wolves. And
yeah, because usually they can mask for the defense not being great. And they couldn't tonight. But I was very impressed with the defense.
The defense did their job for sure. Like, they did a much better job than I was anticipating.
Carry the team.
Yes.
They didn't just be like, oh, well, our goalie can save us this time, and just throw him to the woods.
Yep, this goalie can bail us out.
Happen.
They definitely looked a lot more into the game. Like, they definitely looked like they were playing a much sounder structured defense around their goaltender. Like, they knew that they had to be
100%.
a lot more cautious. But at the same time, they still give up 34 shots, and Spencer Martin stopped 33. So finishing with a .971 save percentage. Absolutely ridiculous just how good he was in that game. Like, the Panthers too, they're like not to play like devil's advocate necessarily, but I did notice the Panthers were throwing a lot of shots right into his chest. Like, there were a lot of opportunities in that game that I think they didn't take the best shot they could have. And it kind of looked like the Panthers might have been even like trying, like, I don't know if they were coasting necessarily, but it didn't look like they were necessarily always getting the best opportunity they possibly could.
I think you have to think about it though in the way of they just came off a game in Edmonton last night.
Right.
And they've been on the road, and I feel like it's like when we go into the East Coast, I feel like it's a lot harder for them to it's like when we go to the East Coast, it's harder for us in the time zones. And I think the same thing happens to them, like West Coast, like you're not used to it. And also like back-to-backs are always hard no matter where you're playing, no matter what like teams you're playing. And so I think even though like they played the Oilers and the Canucks, and yes, they're leading the league, they had a huge win last night against the Oilers, and they might have just been fatigued. But I think even with the fatigue, like they still put up a good game. But I think you're right. Like I think the shots, like, yeah, they weren't taking the opportunities, and maybe that would have happened even if like they're not tired. But I think definitely there was fatigue. Not
Yeah.
to give the Panthers too much credit, but they are leading the league.
Yeah, 34. Like, yeah, they still got it. They still had a 34 shot night on a Canucks team that's not obviously not at top condition, but also like rested. Like they still had the benefit of resting and having some time between games for this one. And the Panthers didn't necessarily have their best lineup available either. Like Olio Levy was supposed not necessarily like he's a starter, but Gustav Forsling was supposed to initially is in their top 6. He's hurt or in COVID protocol. I forget exactly what it is, but Olio Levy was supposed to take a spot. Then he went on IR. So they lost that guy. Now and I think the guy they were playing in his stead was a guy by the name of Matt Kiersted was the guy taking over in that 6th spot with the usual guys like Ekblad, Gudas, Montour, Weaker, those etc.
It would have been funny to see Yolevi play though, because I feel like
people were asking
the typical trend of players the Canucks reject coming to Vancouver or playing the Canucks and absolutely destroying them. It's Toffoliing.
Yeah, we have a jar. We have the Toffoli jar up there. We have
it is Toffoliing, and I think he probably would have Toffolied. So honestly,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think he would.
I think he would have scored.
I would. I am very.
He's not gonna get a hat trick. Not everyone's gonna get a hat trick. That Toffoli thing was just. Toffoli is so good, and I think he just really was like, "Hey, look at me, I'm really good."
You're gonna be throwing a lot of money into that jar.
Screw, like,
it's bad. Yeah,
yeah. He was like, "Just screw you, Jim Benning." Like, honestly, like that's how that went down, and no one else has really done that coming back to Vancouver.
Adam Gaudette kind of did.
Well, yeah, but not really. But I'm gonna say, like, I think no one will ever really do what Toffoli did. However, I think Yolevi probably would have had a great game, because I feel like whenever players come back, they always have great games.
Yeah, but in Olio Levy's case, I kind of feel like that was I would have been very comfortable betting money that he wasn't going to get a point.
Yes, but I feel like it was a great. Like, I'm not saying like it's a bad trade like most of the ones in the Jim Benning era. No, However, it was a good trade in a way of like he was not working here. So I'm like happy with that. But it would have been funny if he got a point, and if he probably would have. Like,
I don't. I think that I feel pretty safe that he wouldn't have. But Juho Lammikko has done pretty well against the Panthers in the one game that he got against them in his revenge game as part of that trade. Noah Juleson has not gotten his opportunity yet. No. Maybe he will someday. But for now, Infinity Gauntlet time. I think it's pretty clear that we're giving the Infinity Gauntlet tonight to Spencer Martin. Like, God, no, absolutely. Like that kid, like, okay, straight up, you can back me up on this because you were there. I was stressed watching that. Like once they got the 1-0 lead and started the second period, or like around that like early parts of the second period, that's when I started stressing out, because I, as a goaltender, I'm like watching this. I'm like, I wanted him to win so badly. I wanted that win for him so badly. We're talking about it like they won. They lost 2-1 in a shootout.
It was an exciting game.
Spoiler alert. But I was watching that game and I was just like, God, I really need them to win for this guy, because like I can't, like he is putting in every last ounce he has into winning this game. And I would be, and especially considering the fact that he's 0-3, that he was coming in 0-3. I was like, God, get this man his first NHL win. He is working so hard for it, and they couldn't do it. They tried again. They tried their best. They did their absolute best to give the Canucks credit. They did not give up an even strength goal. And according to Jeff Patterson, they have not given up an even strength goal since I think he said the second period against the Carolina Hurricanes. So about a week ago. Like that's great. Like that's a huge boost for your defense. That's a good indicator that your defense is coming along nicely, and punching above their weight class a little bit more. And even tonight, like, they had to get a little bit of a bailout kind of night from their goaltender, and he was dialed in right from the beginning. Like, there were a couple plays, like, I definitely noticed the difference where he's like with Spencer Martin, you can definitely tell that he's not like that he's clearly not Thatcher Demko or Yaro Halak in the way that he's not as quick on like his feet. He's definitely moving across crease, definitely slower, and he's reacting to the play a little bit, like just a step behind, like even the slightest step behind. But considering all that, he looked great in net, and he was reading the puck well. He was able to move. He was able to keep the Panthers at bay for a very long time. He wasn't fooled by any sort of like trick shots, and the Panthers tried that on a couple power plays where, in particular, there was one where Anthony Duclair, I don't know if he fanned on it. I don't know if he just fanned on the one-timer, but he kind of tried like a weird floater. Like, there was a puck that very easily can catch you off guard as a goaltender, where when you're expecting that hard shot and it ends up, instead of going just straight at you, it ends up kind of bobbling up, and he still read it, and he put the blocker out, and he got his blocker out in front of it. And I was watching that, and I'm just like, no, he's dialed in. He's doing his absolute best. And got it when Pedersen scored, or Besser scored in the shootout, I was like, they're gonna do it. They're gonna win. They're gonna win this game. They're gonna win this game. He's gonna get it, and then it ended that. That was as close as they got.
Two things I want to correct you on. It was not Pedersen who scored. It was Besser.
I said Besser.
Well, then I'm zoning out. But anyways,
I said Besser afterwards.
Also, yeah, you were fucking stressed in overtime because
that was different. That was not about
overtime. Sucks. And to be fair, watching that overtime was not as bad as the worst overtime ever, which was against St. Louis, 3-0 on Marshall. However,
I would say this was worse.
Hot
take. This is worse.
But 3 minutes.
Yeah,
you have Labico, Highmore, and OEL out there in the defensive zone. First of all, they're gassed. Like, luckily, Florida's gassed too. But it's not like they're trying to score. They're putting more effort trying to stop these guys from fucking going. And all they were doing is trying to run out the fucking clock. All they were doing is running out the clock. And it was exhausting to watch how they could not clear the puck enough to change, which was disturbing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense.
Bad.
It makes sense. Yeah, it was awful. So
it was bad.
So okay, Bruce Boudreau, for all the points he has gotten already as a Canucks head coach, I am not loving the trend right now of how much he's leaning very specifically on Tyler Mott, Juho Lammikko, and Matthew Highmore. Like, you heard him talking about how he sees them as the third line, and that includes over Höglander, that's over Podkolzin, that's over Dickinson. And I'm looking at, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, he's winning a lot of games. It's hard for me to really like get too upset about it and like really like get too concerned, I guess. But in that overtime, I do not know how you as a coach come to the conclusion of, you know who's going to win us this game? You know who we're going to put out right after Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, and Brock Besser is Juho Lammikko, Matthew Highmore, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. It wasn't even soon like as they stepped over the boards, I was like, oh, this is going to go really badly. And it went even worse than I anticipated.
Mott was also out there, though.
Mott was out there for
Pettersson. He wasn't out there a lot. My issue is that you put those guys out, first of all, in overtime in general. But you put them out before you put Pearson, before you put Höglander, before you put Podkolzin. And like, yeah, OEL's out there because OEL's probably like the second man next to Quinn Hughes when you go, and other than Tyler Myers, when you go and put overtime defensemen. Like, obviously you're double shifting Hughes, and then there's OEL and Myers, and those are the only people they usually put out for overtime. But my issue comes with the fact that those guys were out there, like you said, before anyone else, before like other than the top line, they were out there before Pearson, Höglander, Dickinson, Podkolzin, they were out there. Even really Mott, because Mott wasn't out there a lot.
Mott
They
was
were
only out there for 30
yeah,
seconds.
they were out there before all those guys who are way more, I feel like, capable in overtime of winning a game than
Yeah.
that line.
Straight up there. Okay. Like, let's.
Like,
I
they
know.
were in the defensive
I
zone
know
for 3
Bruce
minutes.
Boudreau
That should prove something.
sees them as a third line. I'm sorry, they're a fourth line.
Yeah,
They're
they're
fourth
not
line
that good.
guys. You should not be putting your fourth line guys out in 3-on-3 overtime. And they got burned on it because here's the thing: like if you
They were gassed.
they got
gassed.
they went out there, they could, and it's not even it went to the point where they're gassed because they're not fast enough to keep up with the Panthers.
Yeah.
At 3-on-3.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the Panthers turned into the Harlem Globetrotters around them. It's like, geez. I was like, okay.
I wonder why.
Yeah, they wasted 3.5 minutes of a 5-minute overtime period
In
with
the
those
defensive
guys out there
zone.
because they
In the
couldn't get
defensive
out.
zone the whole time.
They had there was no way they were going to get out of that zone without a lucky bounce. And even then,
Even when they
then,
cleared the puck and
Highmore-
changed, it
even
was
even
not
then,
fun.
Highmore decided, I'm going to try and dangle around these two guys by the blue line instead of just dumping it in and getting it changed. And sure enough, they stripped him of the puck and sent it back the other way.
So then
It's like-
the guys coming on had to rush the hell
Yeah.
to the other end of the ice so they could defend.
Yeah, Jesus. It was a huge, that
bad.
was a huge mess. Like, that was the one part of the game. That and the Tyler Myers giveaway
Oh
with
my
like
God.
seconds remaining. You're like, Jesus,
Ugh.
why? Why are you doing this to Spencer
Why
Martin?
is this a thing? Why
Yeah.
is this happening?
Why is that happening? That was that was the thing. I think the Canucks I can't say they would have won necessarily because who knows how the rest of the OT would have gone, but I would at least like to think they would have had a better chance had Pettersson, Bennett, and Besser and Hughes or Pearson, Höglander, what have you, had been able to get more than a minute and a half of ice time in OT. Like, that cost them the game. That's the kind of roster of line decision that costs you a game. And it did. It cost them a game right there. And again, I'm not going to get too upset about it. The fact that you were even in a game 2-1 in a 2-1 game
Where you're playing the top team in the league and
with
both your
depleted
goaltenders are
roster,
out.
with as depleted a roster as you have is honestly very, very impressive. I do have questions about a couple, I have questions here and there about the way that they deployed the team as overall. Again, the other thing was Highmore, Mott, and Lamico were also out there in the last minute of play in the game.
Yeah,
when
where
you're tied
you
at 1, you should have your best.
Besser, Pettersson.
You should at least have some
Höglander
semblance
out
of your youthful scorers. You should have some combo of those guys out there.
You
And
should
instead
have
they're-
the first or second line. You should have Besser. You should have some combo, like you said, of Besser, Pettersson, Höglander, Podkolzin.
I even feel like I could take
Even-
Mott out of that equation to an extent because I feel like he in himself was actually doing a pretty good job.
I think you can put
moving the
Mott
puck.
in there, but I don't like Lamico out there at all.
No,
this
Lamico
scenario.
is great in small doses. Tonight he played 19 minutes and 51 seconds, and that is too much, especially when you consider that Podkolzin played 9.5.
Yeah, I don't like that how
no.
he was in the fourth line and he wasn't really getting much time, where I feel like Podkolzin is one of those players for some reason that's not getting enough playing time over guys who aren't as good. And I feel like if Podkolzin was out there more, maybe they'd score.
Maybe,
it's just a hot take,
Maybe Pods has work. Pod's a rookie. I don't want to put too much pressure on him to
but he contributes in other ways.
He contributes in a lot more ways.
He's
Defensively,
great defensively.
offensively, he's very good in his own end. Whereas
100%.
that third line, or fourth line, whatever you want. I feel like just calling them the crash line right now. But they get hemmed in their zone for they'll get a nice goal every now and then, but they get hemmed in their zone for long periods of time. Their advanced stats numbers are
they
not
were in
good.
their whole defensive zone that last minute when they're out there.
Which is why at the rate that Tyler Mott is scoring right now, you really want to hope that they can maybe offload him to somewhere else right now. The way that he's playing. No. Okay. Here's the thing.
No.
We have to have this conversation
No.
because here's the thing.
We're not having this conversation.
Yes, we
have
are.
this conversation with Cody when he'll agree with you, because I'm not talking about
that's the
Mott.
thing. That's the important thing is you have a disagreement on this one. So here's the thing. Tyler Mott is a wonderful hockey player and a wonderful person. Tonight was hockey talks night. That was awesome. And
Love him.
Tyler Mott's been a big, very passionate part of that conversation with it, as he's dealt with those sorts of things and mental health issues himself. And But at the same time, like one of the things we're hearing right now with when it comes to Tyler Mott, he's a UFA at the end of the season. From my understanding, or at least from Donnie and Dolly's understanding, I think they said they're looking, his next contract is looking to be in the ballpark of 2.5 per year, like around that number, I believe was the number, at least over 2 million. I know that much. I know it was over 2 million. And look, if Tyler Mott's wonderful, but if that's what he's asked, if that's what you expect the cost to be to re-sign him as the incumbent team, I think you have to look at trading him. You have to look at moving him to another team because he's great, because the asset value, he does have a lot of value, especially right now. He has a lot of value. And what he could bring back in return from a contending team is going to help you a lot more than having Tyler Mott on a hefty contract extension would next season. If you're going to pay him that kind of money, he has to be scoring at a regular rate, like he has to be scoring at a second, third line pace regular, which is unusual for Tyler Mott. Like he's coming close to hitting his career high in points. And do you really want to bank on that being the norm for him when this kind of a thing is not usually his high scoring season is around the 20 point mark? I say no, that's not enough. It's not enough for what that cost would be. So I think you got to look at moving him at the trade deadline. And especially again, right now, because he's playing really, really good hockey, you could get a pretty darn good package, I think, for him from the right team.
Okay, fine. But we also, if you're trading Tyler Mott, we're also trading JT Miller.
I mean, those are two separate deals.
I don't care if it's two separate deals, but it has to happen. If you're going to trade Tyler Mott, you better damn well be trading JT.
How is that? Okay, I have to ask. How is that connected? Like what? Why? Like because they're both the heart of the team.
Great. No, okay. But JT Miller trades value is great. He's leading scoring. He's the leading scorer for them at the moment. I just feel his trade value is really good. And also I feel like with Mott in the same way, you'll get a good package for him. Yeah, JT's older.
JT Miller and Tyler Mott the same.
The only thing though is JT Miller's older, but he's still it's almost like he's hitting his prime.
Is he older?
I thought he was 29, 30.
I think they're actually around the same age.
Well,
I think they're much closer in age.
Then.
I think Tyler Mott just has a bit of a baby face, which is why he's got those good genes.
Brings great energy to a team. His trade value is super high right now, and I feel like he is worth a lot of money. And even though it sucked to lose him, I feel like it's one of those guys that we just need to get rid of. And I feel like Mott is like that too. The only worry I have about getting rid of Mott is I feel like, and you can disagree, but I feel like our penalty kill is gonna fall apart. I know it's not great, but it's gonna get worse. He is the heart and soul of the penalty kill.
Do you think the penalty? If Tyler Mott is the only thing keeping your penalty kill together, then maybe you just need to rebuild the entire penalty kill.
It sucks. The penalty kill sucks.
JT Miller's 28 and Tyler Mott's 26. It's about it's pretty close.
I thought JT was older, but even then, I feel like the PK. The thing is, with the fourth line,
keeping Tyler Mott is not going to make the PK better.
The PK, but also the fourth line,
it's just going to stay as
a unit, and I feel like it's hard to split that up, and so I feel like Tyler Mott being such a big part of that hurts them. But I don't know, I personally would rather him stay, and I personally think he's worth the money, just like I think Pearson is worth his money. And you disagree with that?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people disagree with that.
I love them both as players and as people. I love them both as players and as people. But when you're talking the dollars and cents of a salary cap league, I don't like the overall cost there. I think the cost outweighs the benefits with having them. Which in the same way that I think re-sign leaving it to re-sign JT Miller would probably not be a good call. I think you'd be much better off. I think the amount you are going to get for JT Miller in today's market
You
right
really
now,
need to get him
you are
gone
gonna get
almost
you're
now
gonna get a king's
before things
ransom.
happen. Yeah,
Straight
exactly.
up, I think the Canucks might get the Canucks might make one of the best deals in their franchise history if they act.
Well,
quick
now
enough
that Jim
on JT
Benning's
Miller.
gone, I have more faith in our trades.
For sure.
Getting
well,
what we
here's
deserve
the
for the
thing.
players we get rid of.
Well, also,
a concept.
JT Miller would have, Jim Benning, in Jim Benning's world, what he would have done is
He would have waited till free agency.
He would have said, no, we're going to do fantastic. And then he would never trade JT Miller, let him walk in free agency for nothing. And that would be it. And then
they
no
would sign some 32-year-old fourth liner for $5 million for 5 years and be like, oh, we're so excited for them.
Yeah, thank God that's over. But that's the Edmonton
Jim Benning era.
But Jim Benning's the Edmonton Oilers problem now.
The Edmonton Oilers.
Pretty
Should
soon.
we talk about the Edmonton Oilers?
We should in a second, but I think the two last things we got to get over from the Canucks side of things before we move on to any other teams.
I will say though, the game, yes, we lost, and yes, Spencer Martin was the star. However, I feel like for being a depleted roster and everything, I feel like the Canucks really did bring up good energy tonight.
Yeah,
I feel like they played a full 60 minutes, and I feel like they just played well. Like they did help their goaltending. Even Spencer Martin played great, but they really did help him. And I think they just played a good full 60 minutes. It was just overtime, obviously, that we talked about. So I'm not mad. I'm glad we got a point for our efforts because I feel like it was a good overall effort.
You got a point against the best team in the NHL.
Exactly.
That's nothing to sniff at.
No.
And especially where you are as a franchise, and especially considering they absolutely hammered you the last time you played them.
Exactly.
That's pretty good considering all the circumstances. Yeah, you'll take 1 point. No problem.
And people can go off and say that Panthers are fatigued. They played.
I don't think anyone's that mad about this one.
But I don't think it's that. I think it's pretty darn good, even if the Panthers were tired. I think we still played pretty good because even the best teams in the league, when they're tired, usually we wouldn't put up that effort with such a depleted roster. So,
yeah, exactly. I think they did very well. The other two things we need to get to. First off, the best part of tonight's game wasn't actually the game itself. It was the fact that Roberto Luongo was in the building, and you squealed like a child. Of course I did.
Happy.
I did. This is my hero. My goddamned hero is back in Vancouver.
And he was in the suites where we were sitting.
Oh, happiest moment. I haven't seen him in so long, and he was.
There was going to be an announcement. There wasn't.
I thought
then why bring him back against Florida? That's why I was
because he works for the Panthers.
Oh right.
He works for the Panthers. That's why he's here. But I swear to God, everything. Here's the thing. This is where the Canucks truly messed up tonight. This was the biggest mistake of the night. Everything. Look at me. Look at me right now, camera. Or if you're just listening in your car right now, just focus in. The biggest mistake the Canucks made last night in this game was that they did not announce Roberto Luongo's jersey retirement. Why haven't they done it yet? I'm sorry. This was the prime opportunity. Okay, this was the prime opportunity for two things. One, they could have announced him as the new GM of the franchise because, come on, he is the most qualified. He hasn't even been interviewed. He was in town. You could have done the public interview right there. Maybe he did. Maybe we don't know. I hope he did. He didn't. But I want to believe he did. But on a far more likely situation, they could have announced his jersey retirement. They need to. God, I cannot believe he's been retired now for 3 years and they still haven't retired his damn jersey. They still haven't even mentioned retiring his damn jersey. You know how many people aren't stupid. I think even the Sedins on their jersey retirement day, they were asked about it at some point. I think they're well, Lou's. They were yeah, Lou's gonna go. Of course he's gonna be there. Yeah. How could you not? He's the greatest goaltender. He's the greatest goaltender in franchise history. He is
one of the best goaltenders in league history.
One of the greatest goaltenders in NHL history. At the very least, he is, and this is the hot take. This is where people are going to disagree with me a little bit. He is the third best. At least he is the third best player in Canucks history, player or goaltender, bar none. Behind the Sedins only. That is it. It goes the Sedins, Luongo, Bure, and everybody else. Like that's it. That's it. That's where it goes. He is the best player. He is the third best player in the franchise's history. Like no doubt about it. How he has not had his jersey retired yet is a crime. It is an absolute crime.
Well, now that they didn't announce it tonight, here's an idea maybe for an upcoming article that you can pitch.
Yes, 101 reasons why Roberto
A
Luongo's jersey
10-part
should be
series
retired.
by Lachlan.
A saga,
on why.
a thrilling saga filled with twists and turns and secrets. I don't know. The
Here's an
secret is the
article.
open one. Oh, I'm sure I will. It's an open secret that it's about the fact that he's still on cap recapture, which isn't even his fault.
No,
It's not even the
Jim Bennings.
It's not,
Actually,
it's not Jim Benning's fault. It's not even Mike Gillis's fault for signing the contract. It's the NHL's fault for going, oh, we're going to punish you because our salary cap rules sucked enough for you to find the loopholes in it. No, you don't get to I'm sorry. You should not be able to retroactively punish
Literally.
teams for finding the flaws in your salary cap.
It's your
It's
system that you
bogus.
fucked up.
Yeah, it's bogus. That's how that works.
I will say though, Luongo being back was amazing because he was also
I was
my first favorite hockey player. Like, he's great, but also Kevin Bieksa made an
Kevin
appearance.
Bieksa was also there for
And
Hot Docs
personally,
Night. Wonderful.
I love that man.
I heard he was.
So I'm not
I
mad about it. I squealed like a child when Kevin Bieksa came out.
I love Kevin.
Well, it's Hockey
I
Talks
would like
Night,
to-
and he was really close with Rick Rippon, and he's been very open about that. But I love Kevin Bieksa, and Kevin Bieksa and Roberto Luongo back in the building tonight.
I don't know why
This
Bieksa's
is a great
not in
decision.
Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
I don't know why that hasn't happened.
he
yet.
hasn't been in Ring of Honor. I don't think they'll retire his jersey.
No, he's not. No.
He's
He's
not
not,
like a
a jersey
franchise
retired
guy.
candidate.
But he's not in the Ring of Honor even at
Ring
all.
of Honor is the perfect. Ring of Honor is
He
the perfect
needs
place
to be
for a
honored
Kevin
somehow
Bieksa.
because Kevin Bieksa A was a fan favorite and B was a great
I
player for
wouldn't
10
be
years
surprised
with
if
the team.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets there like pretty quick. Here.
Yeah.
Especially now that he's doing media
He
stuff.
played
and he's
pretty
much
much
more
his
in the
whole
spotlight
career
again.
in Vancouver, other than
A couple,
the
like
last
he
bit
played
at
a few-
Anaheim.
He played a good few in Anaheim, but yeah, like
But
yeah, he's known as a Canuck.
yeah.
He's known as a Canuck.
His loyalties are still here.
Yeah.
He went on air one time, like I think
Of course he did.
last
He loves
season.
the city.
Or no, when the Canucks were in the bubble, when he wore a freaking like Canucks like bomber jacket
Yeah, he's the best.
on air.
Kevin Bieksa is the best.
Not
Kevin
biased
Bieksa.
at all.
Kevin Bieksa is the first West Coast bias member of Hockey Night in Canada we've had in a
True.
long time.
That's true.
I
It's
love.
not even Kathy Campbell really is.
No, yeah. Well, Cassie Campbell
Cassie Campbell.
is from. Isn't she from Ontario though?
Yeah,
Like,
but she covers the Flames.
She covers the Flames, but she's from Ontario.
That's
like,
true.
so
But
I think-
everyone else is very East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Toronto broadcast. So like, yeah. Yeah, Kevin Bieksa is back. Apparently he did a very good job in there was an intermission video that played on Sportsnet during the game about Hockey Talks and the initiative and everything.
I'm sure it's
Apparently
on
it
the
was
YouTube
very,
channel.
very good.
Sure, it's on the YouTube
that
channel.
Bieksa, I believe, narrated or was just very involved
Yeah.
in making, which is great. Yeah, and that part was very nice to see that initiative still continuing. As somebody, I deal with ADHD so every day, so it's it's important to me. Like obviously ADHD is not like it's not necessarily considered on the same. It's not always considered on the same level as all those other ones, but yeah, but like. On like other mental health issues, but it is in the same category, and it's one of those things that I deal with every single day. So I always appreciate that they do this and that they do that night and they do it very well.
The other big news.
The other big news of the weekend, of the weekend or the week.
The week.
I keep thinking it's the weekend. It almost is.
It
really
pretty much
it's
is.
It's 5 minutes from now.
5 minutes when we're recording this.
The other big news came out yesterday. Is that the Canucks maybe the other Infinity Gauntlet of the week belongs to the newest member of the Canucks analytics department, Rachel Doerrie. Did you just try to snake the announcement for me? How dare you? This is my show.
Don't care.
All
This is about women in sports.
Oh wow. Okay, checkmate. Okay, you well played.
Yes,
well played.
she's in the Canucks, but this is about women in sports, and this is a very important topic for me.
Yeah.
Being
Well,
a journalist.
you have the floor. Go for it.
Being a journalist in sports, I think this is a great signing. I think Rachel's great for experience. Not only like she's a woman, obviously, first woman in a management role, not management role, but in like head office for the Canucks, which is amazing.
Not the first.
Not the first?
No, there have actually been a few more apparently.
Oh.
I actually checked around to see if that was the
Okay.
case. And
Well, one of the first, but I think in the era that we're getting into, more and more women are getting into sports. And so either or, like even if she's not the first, it's great for the organization to have more representation. I think she's super smart. I think she's a great addition. And I feel like this also opens the door for a lot more people to be like, yeah, I can do that, because I feel like hockey historically has been very run by white men, and you're starting to see a lot more diversity, not only in like, I guess, head office, but in like the media, and in all aspects, which I really like, and I think it's a great fit.
yeah,
I'm very excited about it.
It's a fantastic fit for a lot of reasons.
She's also insanely smart.
Rachel is
She's
so
good.
For anyone who doesn't know like a lot about Rachel, or is like this is your first time, like your introduction to her, I'd be surprised if you're finding it out on our show. But Rachel has worked for the New Jersey Devils. She worked there for 2 years, along with she has worked for Hockey Canada. She's worked for the Sudbury Wolves. She's worked as part of like a director of like development, I believe, for like the York University in Toronto, where she was also getting her master's in her master's degree in science for sports analytics and sports. I think I forget if it was psychology or like something like that. Something ridiculously smart and into like a crazy cool career path. And Rachel is obviously has always been very active on Twitter and in social media. About she had a podcast called the Staff and Graph podcast, which ended yesterday for some reason.
Well,
the show. Sorry, I should say the show didn't end. She's just no longer going to be on it for some reason. But Rachel is like, I've been following Rachel like in her career for the better part of the last, I guess, 3-4 years now. God, like she's talked many times about the Canucks and what was wrong with them specifically during the last regime. And like to this day, one of my favorite, I don't know Rachel personally, but I don't know if she'd love me bringing this back up, but I will say this. One of my favorite quotes of all time was when she appeared on Puck Soup and on the Puck Soup podcast with Greg Wyshynski, Ryan Lambert, and Sean McIndoe. And she was and they were talking about the trade deadline. She said, I quote, if Steve Yzerman and Joe Sakic are playing 4D chess, then Jim Benning is gluing macaroni onto construction paper.
Oh my
And it is the greatest analogy of the Canucks at that point that I have ever heard. And here's the thing. A lot of people, like, I saw a lot of people being like, oh, you don't want somebody who was talking trash about the Canucks on your working for the team. Why would you ever do that? And now I think that's a guy's for a different issue. That's just an excuse for a different issue that they have with her.
I know our media people aren't technically employed by the Canucks, but they sit up in the press box at Rogers Arena and shit talk the Canucks when we suck. So
I mean, I would say shit talk.
I don't think it. Well, no, but I think everyone has opinions, and I don't think
we're not gonna sugarcoat it when they're bad.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's how it goes.
But I'm saying that, like, for people to be like, oh, well, she talks shit. It's like, no.
But here's the thing.
No,
See, what
I don't care.
What I was getting to the point of was that you want people in your organization who don't agree with you.
Because you need different opinions. You don't want everyone to be like, oh yeah, 100% I agree with you, because then you'll never have anything else.
It's straight
change.
It's straight up the idea of, like, in a way, like, this is not necessarily the perfect analogy, but it's the idea of, like, you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. It's the idea of the people who have their disagreements with how you're running things and are vocal about it. Those are the types of people that you actually want working with you.
Oh yeah,
because they're going to bring a different mindset. They're going to bring a different idea that you might not have necessarily thought of. And that's good for your organization. You want people who have a different point of view on what they're seeing on the ice. You want a bunch of different opinions and ideas to create a more collaborative, cohesive unit. And that's what Rachel talked about yesterday about why she wants to be on the Canucks and why she's wanted to work for the Canucks for actually quite a while. And the fact that the Canucks were actually the team together and that actually put the pitch together to go for it.
There was a lot of teams
great.
getting for her.
Yep.
So
According to Thomas Drance, a lot of teams wanted her, but she chose Vancouver.
So that makes us feel special too.
Yeah, because it's a case.
She wanted us and we wanted her. It was a mutual.
Yeah.
Mutual joining.
And that's because Jim Rutherford's here now. And
That's true.
he made it very clear that he wants to put together a better product. And he wants to have a group of new age thinking. He wants to have people who might be lean towards more of his side of things with the older school of thought. But he's gonna bring in people from different walks of life and different experiences. And Rachel fits that description perfectly. She is a new age thinker. She brings a very different side of expertise on things that the Canucks are desperately in need of. And the Canucks today, with Rachel Doerrie working in their analytics, even if it's not necessarily like, oh, she's not like an assistant GM. She's not going to be making any trades herself, but you are so much better today with her on your management team than you were the day before.
Yeah, because like you said, even though she's not making trades, she's putting her thoughts and opinions out there on what she believes is best for the team. And I do feel like you said with Jim Rutherford, I feel like this management team that he's building will listen and have they might not agree on everything, but I feel like they're all going to listen to each other and kind of put everything out there and then be like, okay, so this is our best thing and this and place everything. I don't know how to explain it, but they're going to just listen to all the options before making a rash decision, where I feel like with management before, it wasn't something that happened. I feel like it was a very one-sided conversation when you wanted to make trades, when you wanted to not sign players and yada yada yada. I feel like there was
John Weisbrod who had just offered teams picks that they didn't ask for.
Yeah, I feel like it was just very much like it was just like, oh, here, you want this player? Okay, here you go. We'll take whatever you want. Where I feel like this, with her in the analytics department, it's really just going to be a lot better, and it's going to be a conversation instead of just a decision made.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more of a debate around where to go with things, and that's good.
And looking at pros and cons of each person's thoughts and things, be like, oh, I want this. Well,
which
no,
is
I
how
want this.
You end up with less Tucker Pullmans on your team.
Oh God, Tucker Pullman.
To be fair, Tucker Pullman was good. Was okay tonight.
He was decent.
Fine. He was fine.
I mean, he's playing with Quinn Hughes. I hope you're decent when your partners with Quinn Hughes.
Your goal when you're clearly not as good as Quinn Hughes, your job is just to be just don't make his job harder. You're fine. And he did. He didn't make Quinn Hughes' job harder tonight, and that was important.
Exactly.
And one of the things that Rachel's probably going to be involved with pretty quickly when she gets to Vancouver, because I don't believe she's here yet, but
I don't think so.
I'm sure one of the things that she'll be very involved with is the trade deadline stuff and what's going to happen there, and the fact that the Canucks have suddenly might have a surplus of goaltenders, and one team that could really use a goaltender right now is the Edmonton Oilers. We talked about this kind of last time
when I was on. Yeah, we
talked
about
you were on the show
trades
with Halak. Now there's Spencer Martin. Now, okay, Spencer Martin's not going anywhere. But the funny part, it's just very, very funny because a lot of people were absolutely trolling. What a surprise! That this extremely fragile team that folds like a cheap suit every time the going gets tough is not doing well.
Okay, I have thoughts on.
They're not going to. I have thoughts too. Here, you go first.
They need to fire the coach and management because firing the coach is not going to happen. Or not going to do anything.
See, I
so
agree
they need to fix
who they
all
need?
that.
I know
they need Jim Benning and Travis Green because that would be comical.
Right.
However, they need to make changes in management. They need to make changes in coaching. This is, and I'm copying because this is a great take. What Steve Dangle said on his podcast the other day. This is absolutely terrible for the sport of hockey that Connor McDavid has never gotten past the second round of playoffs, and they're never really in the playoffs. And they lost 6-0 to the Florida Panthers. Yeah, Florida's the #1 team in the league, but they've been losing like crazy. They're getting in fights with media. Not like it's really their fault. There's been stupid questions by the media.
Why are you getting so pissy, Angelina? This is
But
really
yeah, why am I getting
whenever
so
I ask you
pissed?
questions, you get really, really pissy. And yeah.
But there needs to be changes, and if there's not, because they clearly don't know how to build a team around Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Here's the thing, though.
Connor McDavid's going to ask for a trade.
He had so many.
In the next 2 years, if Connor McDavid does not ask for a trade, I will be shocked.
I mean, here's the thing. He should have asked for one 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
He's only he really only has himself to blame at this point.
Yeah,
like that's on him.
Yeah, but Leon's there, and I don't think he wants to separate from Leon yet.
Yeah,
and
which
he was
is part of the reason why they're not good, because
I feel like he's too gullible. He holds on to whatever management says.
Bro, you gotta stop slamming on the table. This is Mike's.
But I'm saying I think he feeds into what management's like, no, don't worry, we're gonna like get you a team. And then it just keeps going on.
I don't think it's so much of that as it is it's one of those things where he has no choice. Like, what can you do? Yeah. Like, where
else is he gonna go? Like, I mean, any team would take him.
The Oilers aren't gonna trade him. That's the problem. Unless he sat out.
They want way too much.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. There is no trade too big for Connor McDavid. If you're an NHL franchise, like if you can get Connor McDavid, offer the sun and the moon.
It's more they don't want to get rid of him.
Well, of course not. He's all they have.
Until he pretty much goes to management and it's like, I want to trade, or I'm sitting on the freaking ice.
I'm going to pull a James Harden and gain like 100 pounds just so you'll get rid of me.
Literally.
Here's the thing. The Canucks are ahead of the Oilers right now in points. The Oilers have 4 games in hand of them, but here's the thing. I don't think that matters. I think the Canucks are going to finish ahead of them anyway.
Yeah, because the Oilers are on a downfall, and as much as I want to see management and coaching changes, they just better not fucking come back like the Canucks did and be like, oh, we're going to win like a bunch of games in a row because we finally got rid of like Ken Holland. But no. Like,
here's the problem with the
thing
Oilers.
is, though, is even if they change management and stuff, it can be good for a little while, but it's not going to last because until they build a team that actually is decent and has playoff potential, they're not going to be good. Because right now they don't have a goaltender, to be fair.
Yeah, bingo.
Koskinen sucks.
Yeah, so like that 6-0 game, I watched that thing. Holy crap. Like, here's the thing. You got shut out, so it doesn't really matter what your goalie does anyway, but he didn't help at all, considering like the first goal of the game.
When we get shut out, at least Thatcher Demko's pretty good.
Yeah, here's the thing. The first goal of that game, I think it was an Anthony Duclair shot where Koskinen got all of it with his glove and somehow it still went in the net. He literally touched his glove and brushed past it and into the net.
Oh my God.
To me is like, good Lord, that is a terrible goal to give up. A beer leaguer would stop that shot. Like, if you're that close on it, yeah, anyone can make that save. Koskinen, I think out of the 6 goals the Panthers scored, 5 of them were stoppable, and he completely gave up. Like he's like awful. Like they have no goaltending. They have straight up no.
And Mike Smith is like,
Mike Smith is no.
As much as I do have a soft spot for Mike Smith. I think Mike Smith I think it's his time is done. And he needs
40.
to back it in.
What?
He's older. He's had his time. He's been a decent goaltender. Please retire.
You didn't think he was going to be just as good at 40 years old as he was last year?
Not all of us can be. Oh my God.
Like what? That's crazy. No, the Oilers. Here's the thing. I think changing management again. Because here's the thing. You know how many GMs
just changed management like 3 years ago?
Yeah, they just changed management not that long ago. And Ken Holland is
didn't they just hire Todd McLellan like 2 years ago?
Well, no, it's Dave Tippett now.
Oh, right.
Remember?
So they've changed coaches again.
Todd McLellan, I think, was actually a Peter Chiarelli hire. So actually they've gone through, they have gone through Todd McLellan, then Ken Hitchcock for about half a season just to literally right the ship partially. And then Ken Holland came aboard and took over for Peter Chiarelli. And then he hired Dave Tippett.
Oh, right.
And look, the Oilers are screwed. I don't think I'm sorry. I don't think I don't see in any scenario where they're gonna do the same thing the Canucks did, because here's the thing: the Canucks were an average team, way underachieving.
Yeah.
We're an average team way under.
They actually had a goaltender. Their defense was like okay. It wasn't.
No, their
great.
defense is terrible.
Well, yeah,
no,
okay.
no.
But they had a
Defense is bad.
goaltender. They had a goaltender and like could just Thatcher was standing on his head every night, and it's
Yeah,
not
they
like
have
he can stop like 50 shots a game because they couldn't.
They have way more pieces
And
of a cup
they
contender than the
have
Edmonton Oilers
like
do.
their defense sucks, but they have at least 2, maybe 3, I would say, solid lines that score.
The Canucks,
and the Oilers have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. That's it. Okay.
Yeah. The Canucks.
Anyways,
the Canucks have The Canucks have more pieces of what a Stanley Cup contending team needs.
Could look like, yeah.
Now they're not close. They're not a
No.
cup contender themselves
They
by
might
any
not make
stretch
playoffs,
yet.
probably not.
But they have more of those, the list, like the checklist marked off than Edmonton has by a country mile. And yeah, look, I don't think, and honestly, like, here's the thing. The other thing that came out today was the whole, on a couple different, specifically Dom Lucian's projections, athletic projections over at The Athletic, and Micah McCurdy's points projections came out today, like they do them daily. Today is the first day that the Canucks were actually in a heat, in a heat with the Kings, or sorry, the Ducks, the Sharks, and the Oilers. I think they were in a little in a heat with those group, and they started, and they're pushing past them.
Yeah, they are.
Now, and the Kings are like one of the teams that they're like on the cusp of getting around. Now, here's the thing. That's every team that's in front of them for a playoff spot. I honestly think that provided the Canucks don't run into too many more setbacks COVID-wise, for starters.
Because that's what's really killing them right now.
I honestly think that they're going to pass all of those teams and make that third Pacific Division spot. Even if, and I almost hazard to say when they end up trading JT Miller, and when they end up trading Tyler Moss, and when they end up trading Yaroslav Halak. I think you can move out I think there's a very realistic case.
Halak is the easiest, I think, to move, though.
No, because he's got the no move clause. He's the hardest to move out, really.
He's the hardest to move, but he's the easiest to replace.
He's the easiest to sell other teams on.
He's the easiest to replace.
Easiest to replace, easiest to sell other teams on, not easiest to actually make a trade happen with.
It's the hardest to
Miller
trade,
is going to be the easiest to make a trade happen with.
Easiest to replace, because what his package would be like is it'd be either 1-for-1 or a 1-for-1 with a pick. So it'd be him for the other backup and a pick, like a 4th round, 3rd round, whatever. Yeah. And then that's fine. That guy slots in behind Demko. If he sucks, now, well, I don't want to say Spencer Martin could slot in, but it just depends. Like, chips will fall where they lay. But I'm not too worried about getting rid of Halak in the way of it doesn't really affect them.
Well, it's
really,
it's not that. It's not about that. It's about what you could get out of them. And like, again, it's not goaltending.
You're not getting much out of that. You're getting a lot more in Tyler Mott and JT Miller deals.
Those
ones are getting.
I think it's very easy. I think there is a very clear scenario here where the Canucks do all those things, actively make trades that in theory make you better for next year and don't make you as good this year, and still end up as the third team in the Pacific to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and then you go and see what you can do, because you never know in playoffs.
Yeah, because at that point you've had your cake and ate it too, because you've you've made the trades to favor yourself for next season while still getting into the playoffs this year. In other words, you have won an extra. Here's a free round for you to try and win a cup.
And then they can just go and do whatever they need to do. And if they lose, it's not like, it sucks, but it's not like their
house money
pressure on them to be this Stanley Cup winning team. They are pretty much, if they made the playoffs, they're pretty much the underdog going in, and they could just go and do whatever the hell they want. And I think we'd all be impressed at whatever they do.
And for all the concerns I've talked about with the Canucks today, like, straight up, like, I even look at, like, in this scenario, they'd be playing Calgary in the first round. I'm like, yep,
Calgary can't win a round, though, to save their lives.
Yeah, Calgary's a beatable
Calgary
team.
cannot win a playoff round.
Here's the thing: a lot of people, like, I know the advanced stats have them ranked pretty high. I am 100.
Calgary's not that good.
I am 100% on the Calgary is overrated train.
Yeah,
I do not.
100%.
I have no faith.
I don't
think
they're that good, and I don't know.
Markstrom's fantastic.
Yeah, Markstrom's fantastic.
But that's all it is.
and they have some
And Kachuk.
decent scores. Yeah, they have Kachuk. Their defense isn't great. I feel like they have good scores because Gaudreau and Kachuk are there, and then Markstrom's fantastic. He did this in Vancouver. He stands on his head.
Chris Tanev is
So
Chris Tanev,
yeah,
like,
Chris Tanev. Like
I'm sorry, I'm in the same, like, here's like
the thing is like I don't think they're that good. Like they have a couple good pieces, but I feel like when you look at it overall, the Canucks have way more pieces to build a team, like to build a Stanley Cup winning team than Calgary does.
yeah, like
At
Calgary.
this point,
Calgary's gonna do what they do every year, where they have this really cool regular season, and then you're gonna
And then
have
they flop in the
particularly
playoffs.
like Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan are gonna disappear when the playoffs come.
Yeah, because they never do anything. Matthew Tkachuk is the only one
literally
who ever scores
I've
in
been
playoffs,
on
and he's not even that good in
the
playoffs.
Flames are the Flames' biggest issue, and I've said this for a very long time, is that they are so hell bent on this is Gaudreau and Monahan's team and not Kachuk's team.
Matthew
And they
Tkachuk is
should
the
have
best player out of all three of those
Yep.
guys, and I will
And
stand for that.
And there was talk last year. Well, I think any smart hockey fan would, because like it's so clear
That's
that
true.
like it's so clear that he's the best out of that group. And yet last year there was like, oh, they're tired of Matthew Tkachuk's attitude and they might trade him. And it's like okay, I'm sorry, if Gaudreau and Monahan are part of that and they're tired of Kachuk's attitude, cool, you get rid of them. Get rid of them first.
Matthew Tkachuk, yeah, he's an asshole and he's a pest, but
Yeah, but he
those are
actually
the
wins you
guys.
games.
Yeah, those are the guys you want on your team because they piss off whoever
Well,
you're playing
I don't
against.
want them on my team.
I mean, to be fair,
I like building a
He's-
team of nice people.
Yes, but he's an asshole, but he wins hockey games, he scores goals, and yeah, he does stupid shit, but he's still pretty, like, he wins games for them, and he's not like, dare I say, he's not like Nazem Kadri in the way of he doesn't get suspended that often. So it's not like he's out half the season from stupid hits.
Well, that's a different thing. And Nazem Kadri, by the way, having a great season. Holy cow.
Nazem Kadri, this is what I'll say. I
Oh,
didn't
boy,
like
we're
him
going
on the Leafs because I thought he was a really dirty player. I'm not saying that he still isn't necessarily a dirty player. However, when he went to the Avalanche,
Oh, he's a dirty
for
player.
some reason,
Wait, here's the thing. He's dirty in the worst way possible for 5 seconds out of a game. Like
Yeah.
he's never
never like a jerk the whole time.
No, it's always this. He literally, I think the way I've heard people put it is like the red mist, where you
Yeah.
get so mad for just a split second that
And
you
he
do the
just
dumbest thing in the
snaps.
world and you snap at the wrong time. Yeah, lots of players are like that. And yeah, that's Kadri's thing, but he's talented. Guys,
Yeah,
you can't
and the thing
deny
is,
that. You can't
I will
deny
say,
the talent.
when
of
he
Kadri.
went to the Avalanche, he really
he cleaned
picked it up, cleaned up his act, and really just started playing. Like, he's always been a good hockey player, but he really just started like focusing on scoring goals and focusing on playing hockey. And yeah, he still gets pissed off once in a while, but I feel like he really tried to control himself in Colorado.
yeah,
because I think Colorado is like, we're not putting up
he
your
also didn't need
bullshit.
to be as well. It's more about,
but
he didn't-
also, it's not like you're on the Leafs where it's
he didn't need to be
way
relied.
bigger.
He didn't need to be relied on as much. Like
Yeah.
in Toronto, they needed to rely on him
because they didn't have anyone else.
because they didn't have any. Because even with like Matthews and Marner,
They were
he
younger.
was still they were younger, and he was still like a top 6 player for
Yeah.
most of that for that time period. Whereas
Because
in
even they had
Colorado, he
Hyman
can
and
be a
stuff too,
second.
but
He can be a third guy sometimes. Like that's because they're that.
and
deep.
he's fine, and I think he's fine with that role because he doesn't have to be as relied on, and so I think it relaxed him
Yes.
being in Colorado and not having this pressure to be like, oh my gosh, I'm on the top line, I need to hold this team together. Like, yeah, sometimes he plays like second line, but he's fine dipping down, and then the pressure's not on him, and he's such a better player
Yep.
when that happens.
Yep. Anyway, the Oilers are in trouble now.
Yes.
Last thing of the day. Last thing of the day. This is what you wanted to talk about.
Yes, I want to.
I mean, I like talking about it too.
I want to talk about Seattle getting a
You
dog.
gotta stop slamming the table. I swear to God.
Until tonight, Seattle is undefeated with their puppy Davy Jones.
And then they got
And
smoked.
there's a couple things I want
the
to talk
Blues.
about with this. One, where the hell is the Canucks puppy?
Great question. Where is the Canucks?
Excuse me?
What?
I
Okay.
feel like there's so
question.
many teams in the
Pause.
league.
Pause. Question.
Can I finish talking?
No. Pause. Question. If the Canucks were gonna get a dog, what kind of dog?
Okay, that's a hard one because
What kind of dog fits the Canucks as like a
I don't know,
if you were to
because I want them to
pick
get
out-
like a mutt like Seattle did because I feel like
But like husky
I-
fits for like a Kraken, like that kind
Yeah.
of style, like that kind of. There's something there,
we
right?
need a duck taller.
Is duck taller is that a Vancouver
It's a
thing?
Nova Scotia. Oh,
See, that's a it's Nova Scotia. I think you need something like you need
Vancouver.
something kind of like you need an oceany type dog similar to the Kraken, but maybe not in that husky
I
range.
know
Or like a
then.
husky, maybe like a German like a
I was
German
gonna say
Shepherd.
German Shepherd mix.
German
Shepherd
I
husky
love German.
mix.
Yeah, I would say you know what? Go like okay. I'm biased.
All I'm fine is I want a mutt because I feel like the reason Seattle did that, like you were saying, is because they want it more to be an emotional support animal than they do necessarily
service
a
dog,
service
so
dog,
for
because they
anyone
want
who-
it for longer, and that's why every team gets like a purebred like yellow lab or golden retriever or chocolate lab because they're service dogs and they're meant to be service dogs after a year. But Seattle was like, no, we don't want to do that. So Davy Jones is a husky mix. I'm not sure exactly what he's mixed with,
I don't
you
know
know,
either. I have
but
no idea.
he's a mix. And I think if the Canucks were to get a dog, they should get a mix. But also, where's the puppy? And please, thank you. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about. But serious question, where's the Canucks dog? I've been waiting for this for years.
Everybody
And
has.
Seattle is a new team in the league this year, and they've already got a dog. So excuse me, get on it.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
Canucks should get a dog. They should get. Here's the thing. I think it should be. I honestly, you know what I'd love to see the Canucks do. I would.
Does any Canadian franchise have a dog though?
I think Ottawa does.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I was like, maybe it's just not a Canadian franchise thing.
well,
but
if it is, then they're being snooty.
that's true.
No, the Canucks should get a dog. I think that I would love. You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see the Canucks get a pit bull mix. And the reason, and now
Ooh,
I'm a little
yeah.
biased because I've had a pit.
You
because
love
I've had
fully
pit
breed
bulls.
dogs.
Because I've had them my whole life. Like
True.
my first dog, Scooby. He was a
bully breed.
he was a German Shepherd pit bull mix. He was a
Ooh.
very good boy. He lived to the ripe old age of 12. Or actually no, because he was he would have been no, it would have been 12. He was 12 because we got him in when I was in first grade. He lived until my first year of college. He was a very good boy, my little Scooby. Then we still have Luna. She is now 12 and she is doing very well. She is a mixture of everything. She's got a little bit of like boxer. We did a DNA test on her. She's like a really straight up
She whip it.
she's a mixture of literally everything. Like not even like that's not even a joke. She is one of like those like the wildest like lineages I've ever seen. She is straight up just a mutt. She doesn't really have a breed. Like they said she is mostly boxer. She looks nothing like a boxer. That's how different.
That's true. I can attest to that. I've seen pictures.
Yes, I think I've shown pictures on this podcast before.
Well,
even.
maybe you can pull it up now.
No, I can't. I do not have one ready to go, and that takes editing that I
No,
don't
when
want
you
to do.
edit
I don't
later.
want to do. I do not want to do that editing. This is a very simple show.
Anyways,
And then Norbert. Norbert is a Staffordshire Terrier. He is like a pit bull. He is got a very boxy head. And I would love to see the Canucks like go for a bully breed dog because I think bully breeds are often. I'm a strong
There's a
advocate that bully breeds are very. There's a large stigma with bully breeds that
and
they
I
are
don't think it's
dangerous
fair.
dogs, and
I
it's not
also think
true.
Vancouver has a lot of pit bulls and things like that, where I feel
There's
like
a lot more big
the
pups.
thing is for me that I've like noticed is bully breeds, specifically pit bulls. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, they're mean." No,
they're not.
They're not.
They're lovely.
It really depends on who their owners are, and if they have good owners and they're well taken care of,
Very true.
they're amazing dogs.
Yes.
It's if they
Every
fall
dog
into
is
the wrong
great.
hands. And
Any
it's
dog
like,
is dangerous
it's
in the
just
wrong
they-
person.
yeah,
like
they
any
just
pet
put it
is
in.
any pet
Because
turns
Rottweilers
awful.
also have that stigma.
Any
They're not,
really
and German Shepherds have that too.
I
but
don't
it's
think
really
German
just-
Shepherds do.
I've heard things, but I guess it's really just if you're in the right hands,
Yeah.
the dog is amazing. It's just if they fall into the wrong hands, which I don't think there should be stigmas around dogs. And like, yeah, maybe history shows like Rottweilers, Germans, and like bully breeds have like a shorter temper, but really, if they're well taken care of, you're not gonna ever see that temper.
Yeah,
ever.
no, it's a thing of they're big, so people are scared of them, and
they look mean, but they're not.
they're not mean. They're like Scooby was the most cuddly boy. Norbert is a real like cuddle bug. I miss my Norbert very much. He is home with my parents in California. I miss having him around. He was just me he was just me in a dog body. Like
you visit my dog.
he's a big yeah, but your dog is no Norbert. I'm
My
sorry.
dog is
Your dog is no
insane.
replacement for
My
Norbert.
dog is insane.
Norby, and anyway, dogs are I would love to see the Canucks go and be like, we picked out a dog, we picked out a bully breed dog, because not only do they make good support animals, they're also stigmas. There's a stigma around them that they're dangerous,
like breaking
but
barriers.
they're actually very lovely animals, and they are they're great dogs. I would love to see them go and do something like that and get like a mix of like a staffy mix and be like, hey, look, this is a lovely dog. He represents your team very well. He's a good boy. And then I don't know what they'd name him. They'd give him a good name though.
Yes.
Here's the trick though. Honestly, like straight up, one of the tricks I've learned is if people don't like your dogs, give it the most dorky name in the world.
You should name it Lou.
Nope, because that's my dog's name. That's gonna be my future dog's name. They cannot have that.
Okay.
But because literally so many times, I cannot tell you how many times when people would ask me about my dog, about
why have you named a dog Lou yet then? Excuse me.
What?
Why is
because I don't have any dogs yet. I don't have the money for a dog. Do I look like I'm ready for children? No.
The only children I want.
Yeah, exactly. It's but you have a dog already.
I do have a dog. Her name is Luna.
Not the same Luna.
She is
very
half
different
Australian
Luna.
Shepherd, half mutt.
Well, that just makes her mutt.
Yeah,
she's
really
mutt,
just a mutt, but she's like her main breed is Aussie, and she looks like a border collie though, and she's insane. But I love her, so it's okay.
Yeah.
She's 11 months old. So.
Yeah, but anyway, when people would ask me about I would say, oh, he's a Staffordshire Terrier mix, which of course immediately people bristle at because they're like, oh, scary dog. And then I'd be like, his name is Norbert. And you just see the color like come back to their face like, oh, it's okay. It's a huge dork. Like this dog, like can you be scared of a dog named Norbert? No, because his name is Norbert. It's the dorkiest name ever. So that's the trick. Just give it a very dorky name, and literally everyone will love the thing.
That's true.
I would love to see the Canucks go and get like a little a big old bully pup because they're very good dogs.
Yes.
And that is the CreaseCast. Ange, it has been a pleasure as always.
Thank you again.
Where can the CreaseCast listeners find your work?
At Ange Mintz on Twitter, angelinamintz.com. And yeah, that's pretty much
that's your life story and you're sticking with it.
I mean, I have Instagram. You can follow me too. It's just my name with an underscore in the middle, but I don't really post much. But if you really want to follow on Instagram, you should follow at Luna the Aussie Cross on Instagram, which Lachlan will put in the cards because it is very important, and I will hype my dog's Instagram more than I'll hype mine.
That you can do that all you want. I'm still not putting it in the title.
He will.
No.
Oh, sucks. Jacob's not editing this because I could get him to put it on the screen.
Absolutely not.
Text him, be like, you better do it.
Absolutely not. Anyway, I've been Lachlan Irvin. Cody Sievertson will be back on Monday. He is, of course, the usual co-host. But if he were here, he would tell you to go check out ahlnucksharvest.com, where he does his Abbotsford Canucks coverage. Lots of great stuff there, especially if you want to learn more about Spencer Martin. He's covered him plenty over there. And make sure to go check him out at Cody Sievertson on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Lock in the Crease. You can also find my writing work over at CanucksArmy.com. I just wrote about Rachel Doerrie joining the Canucks. I wrote the game day, the morning skate stuff for the Canucks this morning, and I'll be writing a lot more.
Possibly soon to be why Luongo's jersey should be retired.
I mean, God, I might just make that a monthly thing.
Until it happens.
If Quads won't pay me to do that, then I will just write it for free on my own website.
Fair enough.
Like that's how I'd go. Or I could maybe write it for the Patreon, the CreaseCast Patreon with $1 and $5 tiers that you can go check out. Also make sure to check out the CreaseCast on not only the podcast platform that you're listening right now. Please give it a review if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but also on YouTube. We have full YouTube episodes and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell on YouTube to get notified when new episodes drop, which can sometimes include the Twitch streams that I do over on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CreaseCast as well, if you want to go check that out, or check us out on Twitter at the CreaseCast. With that in mind, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back on Monday with a brand new episode. Good night.